and that these realms that we're all talking about are abstract realms. And it's important that we, I think, in that time, in the 40s and 50s and 60s, there was this idea that we would evolve. And, in the same way, like all of 20th century thought, we thought, through Marx, all the other progresses. But we discounted the fact that we're messy creatures, and that ideology and utopias are more abstract, and they're more dreamland.
Yeah. It's not even the progress as an ideology.
Yeah.
And that's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it's doing.
Yeah. Well, I like what you're saying about sort of detritus, and also, one thing that's been interesting to me is the relationship that you all have to real spaces, and I think Angela sort of highlighted it when we were at her studio, and correct me if I remember this inaccurately, but you were talking about a painting, or a series of paintings that you had done about falling water, and you said that you went through a period where you were obsessed with falling water. And then I said, well, have you ever been there? And you said, no.
And I have now.
You have now, okay, that's good.
And I'm still obsessed with it.
But that was interesting to me, that you could kind of be obsessed with a structure of a place that you haven't actually been to, and it sort of gets to this idea that we are talking about an ideology and a kind of fantasy space, even though a lot of these places are real. They do exist.
Yeah.
And
idealizing that space.
Idealizing that space. And I'd be curious to know what happened when you went there, because sometimes it can destroy your relationship to the place, because then it's over, the fantasy is over.
Well, it was the opposite. It destroyed my relationship with everything else. Everything else sucks, and it's what made me realize that so profoundly that the place it surpasses like every fantasy that you have about it. Or every all the pictures are cute. But the building goes like straight to your crotch. It hits you at like a guttural level of like, oh my god, it's so amazing. So the thing is like everything else sucks in comparison. But it's a tourist building. Like no one owns it. It's in the astral plane. It is not a place where humanity exists or lives in. It is a tourist space. It's like I lived in Rome for 9 months, and I remember walking through the city of Rome and being like, wow, there is the temple of Jupiter, and there is the blah 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 Marcus Aurelius, and then there's the theater on top of the Teatro Marcello, right? And well, that was cool because they built a modern building on top of the Roman thing, which of course rocked my world because I'm like, woo! And I thought, God, all the tourists come around and they're thinking that they're going to come here and look at the Colosseum. It's going to be this pure vision of this window into the past, and it's going to I'm going to experience because first of all, empirical fantasy, which is nauseating. And then it's like, all right, whatever, okay, this is really cool. And I thought to myself, I'm like the gypsies, that I'm not the tourist because I know that there is an inherent irony here, because I'm not going to experience these architectural spaces for real. Number one. And two, I'm an artist, so I've already got that Little Prince mentality of looking down on things. So here I am, basically, I'm not experiencing the tourist experience, so I'm basically, stealing the tourist postcards, pickpocketing the postcards out of the tourist back pocket. That was the way I felt. If that makes any sense. It's I don't have a pure experience. I'm not a gypsy, because obviously I'm a middle class American, but I don't have that direct experience of putting my hands behind my back and going, wow, isn't it nice? It's
But I don't know that anybody does. I don't know that
but I'm
people's experiences are that.
By using falling water, I'm appropriating that.
That tourist experience.
Yes.
But you're also saying there's this kind of awesome sense of the real thing when you go there.
Yeah.
But that's a common thing, I think, among several of the artists in the show, is that the lack of human presence, and also a very strong sense of the environment, the landscape, or some other type of media context for these works. And if there's a human presence, like in your videos, they're really idealized, either in a very kind of exotic way, like it's impossible for a normal human being to be inhabiting those spaces. They have to be exotic Brazilian
Well,
dancers.
in many ways, I'm idealizing that space as a metaphor for idealization.